The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom releases at the end of the week, which, as far as I'm concerned, makes this the unofficial Zelda week for 2023. I'm not sure if you guys had a chance to check out the Nintendo special episode of the Cons Cast, where I got to sit down and speak with the product manager for Nintendo Portugal. I felt like that was a fantastic Cons Cast, and I'd really appreciate it if you guys check it out. There's some conversation there about Tears of the Kingdom, as well as Breath of the Wild, and a whole variety of other Nintendo topics. It even has like multiple camera angles and stuff, because I really bumped up the production value of that particular episode because I wanted to have this quirky setup that I could take with me to places to interview people. And I thought that was really interesting, and that is one of the reasons why I'm calling it out. And also because with this being the Zelda week of 2023, there's a lot of Zelda conversation in that podcast, in case you are very much like myself in full Tears of the Kingdom mode, because that's kind of like how I feel my brain is gone since the end of last week, where I spent a lot of time working on other projects. And when I finished the last video, which was the Armored Core 6 video, where I talked about everything that we know so far, my brain was just like, okay, Zelda time. And I cannot, focus on pretty much anything else that is not Zelda related at this moment. I don't know why. My brain is just like fully locked in. And so I basically jumped back into Breath of the Wild. Now, how many of you remember you starting moments in Breath of the Wild and when the game kind of just like clicked for you? Like, leave me a comment in the comment section down below. What was that magical moment that you were playing and you were like, oh, I chopped down this tree and then I pushed it onto a river and then I jumped on top of the log and I had this makeshift raft, or I cut down this tree and I made a bridge, or I magnetized something and did this crazy thing with it, used stasis and did this other crazy nonsense thing, and everything just kind of like worked in a strange, weird way. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comment section down below when that moment was, so that I can read it and revel a little bit in nostalgia, because like I said, my brain is like full on Zelda mode. Or if there was the case that Breath of the Wild never really clicked for you, I'd be interested in hearing that as well. Like, what was the reason that you basically, you playing the game and you're just like, this just doesn't click. I miss the older games. Like, let me know some of that stuff in the comment section down below. I'd be very interested to check it out. Now, to me, it wasn't necessarily a moment, but it was more like a realization. Now, I've played a lot of open world games. I had played a lot of open world games before Breath of the Wild came out. As a matter of fact, I had just played an open world game before Breath of the Wild came out, which, if I remember correctly, Horizon Zero Dawn had just come out ahead of Breath of the Wild, which, by the way, fantastic game. Loved playing it, but it did have that same open world structure that we've come to expect from the Assassin's Creed games, kind of, where you climb up on top of the tower, in this case a tall neck, and it kind of like reveals a bunch of side quests that you can go and do, which, let's say, would be like 5-6 different variations of a certain type of quest, and then you would have like 10 times each of those variations depending on in which zone you were. At least that's my personal opinion of it, and that is what a lot of open world games are doing. And when it came to Breath of the Wild, I just felt like, oh, I climb up a tower, but it doesn't instantly populate my map with activities. Instead of that, I look around into the horizon and I try to find something interesting in a general direction. And then usually, at least I think in pretty much all of the cases where I would see something and I'd be like, oh, I think there's something interesting there. Hell, even recently, I jumped on top of a tower because I was looking for something. I don't remember exactly what it was. And I saw this strange shape in the distance. And I was like, I don't recognize what that is. I want to go there and I want to check it out. And I just, I ride there. I think there was a stable nearby this tower. So I just jumped down, ride there to that specific location. And when I get there, it was just like a thing where you had a couple of, I think they're called Lizalfos, the lizard dudes. There were a couple of Lizalfos there. But near that structure, there was a side quest that I still haven't done. But that was a side quest that involved me taking pictures of guardians or something and then bringing those pictures back. And that is, I think that's probably going to unlock a shrine. That's usually what those quests tend to do. But the idea is there, right? You look at something in the distance and you just kind of go in an adventure. And that was, in Breath of the Wild, definitely the thing that marked me the most, is just the simple fact that as opposed to you, just, oh, this is everything being marked for you in the map, you actually go on an adventure. Kind of, you're just like, oh, I'm gonna go in this general direction. Sometimes you'll find something along the way that you'll want to get involved in. Sometimes you won't, but you will find something on your destination. There always just seems to be some sort of adventure to be had. And you're talking with someone that at this point has a couple of 100 hours into the game. And I know that there's a lot of people that played it way more than I did back in the day, and there's still like tons and tons of things that I haven't really discovered because, you know, I didn't really went to third-party websites or anything like that to really min-max everything, find all 120 shrines or any of those things, even though I might in preparation for Tears of the Kingdom, I might end up doing some of those things at least, because you know, back when I played it, and the playthrough that is in this channel, it is a normal mode playthrough, and this is something that I did where I live streamed it over on Twitch, and then I uploaded the streams over here to YouTube so that we'd have that archive of the Breath of the Wild first playthrough. But I kind of feel like me streaming the game in a way kind of spoiled the experience significantly, because one of the things that I noticed, and this is why the footage that you guys are watching in this video is going to be of me exploring Hyrule Castle. One of the things that I noticed is when I got to the end, I remember killing like the first Lionel that was, I think, in like the first gatehouse or whatever it's called. And then I got to the second gatehouse and there was another Lionel there, and I was like, oh, I don't want to kill it, and I just kind of like skipped most of the exploration. I went straight for Ganon, which, thinking back to it, it's like, Jesus Christ, what is wrong with you? There's so much stuff to explore in Hyrule Castle that I'm only kind of discovering now, and I think that the problem was, when I'm streaming, a lot of times I do feel pressured to advance the gameplay and like the story and do all of that stuff, which is not, and I'm not saying that this is something that my audience pressures me to. It's just like there's something in the back of my head pressuring me to keep moving forward. And that is something that I definitely don't want to do for Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm still not sure how exactly I'm going to be handling that side of things. Like maybe I'll do, you know, pre-recording stuff as opposed to actually streaming it live. Maybe I'll do a hybrid. Maybe I'll end up live streaming it and just, you know, try not to rush myself like I kind of did at the ending of Breath of the Wild. But I definitely wanted to talk a little bit more about something that I'm hoping that they do a little bit differently, and that is Master Mode. Because the first time that I played through Breath of the Wild naturally was in normal mode, because back then Master Mode was actually not available. And at this point in time, because I don't really check leaks or anything, I don't know if Tears of the Kingdom is or is not going to have a Master Mode, and I don't want to know. I don't want to know anything about Tears of the Kingdom more than I already know, because I want to go into it as blind as possible to just have a good time. It's probably going to be pretty hard, and being a content creator, most likely stuff is going to get spoiled to me, very much the same way that it happened with Jedi Survivor. For those of you that aren't aware, most of the biggest plot points of Jedi Survivor were spoiled to me during the live stream. And this is an interesting thing, because it's not like my stream is even that popular. Like, you're talking about less than 200 people watching the stream, and I still got stuff spoiled for me. So there's just like this spoiler culture of people just like jumping around into people's stuff and being like, ah, this thing happens. And it just makes me sad, but that's probably going to be something that's going to happen, so I'm not really going to be running away from it. It is what it is. I'll still try to enjoy the game to the best of my ability, but fundamentally, right, what did I wanted to talk about when it comes to Master Mode? So I played the game in normal, then we jumped into Master Mode, and the Master Mode thing, I don't think I actually streamed that, so I kind of played it offline. And I realize now, like back then I didn't really realize because I was just like playing the game. Now I realize, because I've been looking more and more into the systems around Breath of the Wild, and there's actually a lot of things that I didn't really interact with that much, or a lot of mechanics that I didn't really understand that well. Like, maybe because at the time I didn't really read the tutorials properly, or maybe I've just forgotten it over the time and I'm returning back to the game now after multiple years of not playing it, and now I'm like, oh, that's how this works. So one of the things that I didn't know, for instance, is that doing the slow motion stuff with the bow, which, thinking to it now, this is something that you actually see at in the very first trailer they ever released for Breath of the Wild, where Link jumps off the horse and then time slows down. He draws his bow, shoots an ancient arrow at something. That's one of the most damaging moves that you actually have in the game, at least as far as I'm aware, is like if you jump off and you go into slow motion firing mode and then you shoot and you land like a critical hit on a monster's head or something like that. That is one of the highest damage modifiers in the game. There's that, there's Sneak Strike. I mean, Sneak Strike I was aware of, but one of the things that I wasn't aware of is that you can actually chain Sneak Strikes. So I've been watching some videos recently because, you know, I want to make the best of my currently Master Mode save. So these are things that I've kind of been learning. But one of the more interesting aspects is that I did not engage with upgrading armor at all. And, you know, it's very much possible to play through the game without upgrading armor because you can parry most things and, you know, but I'm just not a speedrunner. I'm not that amazing at the combat in Zelda. To be honest, I even struggle with some of the controls in Breath of the Wild. I do, because I'm just not used to those controls. Like, oh, hold down ZL for lock on and then press back and X to dodge. Like, I wish I could have a Dark Souls. Like, I'm sorry. I want a Dark Souls lock on. Dude, I want to press down on R3 and just have like a permanent lock on whatever I'm fighting. But yeah, you don't really do that in Zelda. It's just like different, and I'll just have to adapt. And that's another one of the reasons why I wanted to jump back into at this point is to kind of like get reacquainted with controls, do all of these things. So one of the things that I've been doing is all of the trials. And again, I've done the trials, I'm talking about like the DLC trials, which is something that I hadn't done. And I've done all of them except the very final boss. I still haven't done the very final boss because that ended up being very challenging. And, you know, I just decided, oh, I'll go and explore the Hyrule Castle because I never did that. And maybe I'll farm off some parts from Guardians. Maybe I'll sell those off, make a little bit of coin. Because I know that there are ways of, like, farming Guardian parts and making infinite rupees. But I don't really want to do that. I just want to, like, play the game, you know? So I went ahead and I started practicing parrying timings for the Guardian beams. Not sure how important that is going to end up being for Tears of the Kingdom, if at all. But it was just something that I wanted to be able to do. So there's a lot of like saving and reloading in the footage that you guys are watching in the background. There's tons of saving and reloading as I go ahead and I practice my skills and do all of those things. But yeah, all of that to basically say I need to go ahead and upgrade my armor so that I don't get pretty much 2-shot to 1-shot by most things. I need to go and do more shrines as well to get more hearts and get more stamina so that I can do more crazy things. Like, there was a lot of things that I didn't really take advantage of, and to a certain extent, I'm actually surprised that I was able to get as far as I did, where I did all of the divine beasts with no armor upgrades. And I'm not saying that like, oh my god, Rurikhan, god game. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just like surprised that I was actually able to persevere through that. So I did all of that and then redid all of the Blight Ganons again through the EX trials, and also did that. Oh, well, then again, the Blight Ganons I guess don't really matter because they give you gear for those. So those don't actually count. Now that I think about it, yeah, those don't count. Those don't matter. But I guess that's probably why I didn't really feel like they were any harder. Yeah, I was thinking to myself, I was like, huh, why do they call these EX? They don't feel that much harder than the ones that I've done before. And it's like, yeah, because you've been doing it without actually upgrading your gear, you idiot. You're so stupid. What is wrong with you? But yeah. So I've been thinking a lot about the Master Mode difficulty, which is complete insanity in a lot of aspects. And one of the things that I hope doesn't make a return, because I remember back in normal Breath of the Wild, I would see people complaining about weapons breaking, and I'm like, this is not a problem at all. And I still believe that. Like in normal difficulty, Breath of the Wild, the weapons breaking is not a problem at all. Like, you find 1 or 2 good spots where you can go and get weapons, and you just go back every time the moon goes thing. Every time the red moon happens, you go there and you pick up your weapons, and it's fine. Because you can kill most things in the game just fine without, you know, really needing to deal with that much weapon breaking. And again, I actually had to play the game multiple times because I had an early build, not an early build, but like I played the game early back in the day when I still had early access to Nintendo stuff. I played the game early, and then I lost access to the Switch that they had loaned me to do coverage. So then I played the game again on the Wii U, and then I played the game again on the final Switch that I ended up getting. So yeah, there was a lot of time that I played the game, and I had a lot of time to really optimize things and figure out, oh, I'm going to go to this specific location. I still remember the location that I would go to, which was like this bokoblin camp on top of a hill. It had a shrine nearby, so I could instantly teleport there, glide down, kill everything, get weapons. But the point is, in normal mode, I don't think it's a problem at all, because it's fairly easy to get weapons, and enemies don't have bloated HPs, so you can kill most things without most problems. Now, in Master Mode is where I really felt that breakable weapons became a problem, and how much the fuse mechanic, solves that, I don't know, because I haven't touched the game yet. But I definitely felt like there was a problem there, because one of the things that is introduced with Master Mode, just in case you never really played it, is the health regen on enemies. So if you don't attack enemies for a short amount of time, they'll start regenerating their health to the point where it just like goes back to full health straight up. And that is when breakable weapons kind of like became a problem, because like I would hit a monster a couple of times and then he would just like start running away, because a lot of the monsters are super fast and the AI is actually pretty good most of the time. Not always, but most of the time I feel like the AI in Breath of the Wild is pretty good, especially like when you look at something like Redfall. I'm sorry, Microsoft, your game's so bad. I'm so sorry, it's so bad. But anyway, like I feel like in Breath of the Wild, the AI was actually really good in a lot of situations. So the monsters will actively like run away, regen, screw you around, and you've wasted the durability of a lot of these weapons if you don't follow up and punish the monsters. Like if you make one mistake, a lot of the times you're basically like reloading your save. And I understand that for a lot of players, this is something that they want. But yeah, it's really hardcore, to the point where in a lot of situations I would actually just straight up avoid combat, or I would save before entering combat, and then I would just murder everything, or at least I'd do my best to murder everything with a lot of failed attempts in between to figure out what's the reward for this camp. And then I'm like, do I like it? Okay. Do I not like it? Okay, reload my save, give me all my resources back, and I'm moving along to another location, right? And I just don't think that is a thing that I particularly like. I'm not one to go ahead and advocate, oh, this thing should be made easier, but I just think that the health regen mixed in together with the bloated HP made the game not necessarily harder, but just more tedious. But I'm actually curious as to what is everyone's opinion on that. I think that was the one thing that really annoyed me in Breath of the Wild's Master Mode, was the regenerating health, because sometimes it just feels like you're fighting a forever losing battle. You have to be on the offensive the whole time. You mess up one mechanic and you might as well reset. Like, to give you an idea, I was fighting the final boss of the game, which is not in this footage, but I was fighting the final boss of the game last night, and I think at some point, because with some mechanics that take place throughout the game, the boss starts with not full health. I think that at a certain point, he actually regenerated his health to more than his health was at when the fight starts. And I was like, how bad am I at this game that the boss is just regenerating beyond the health that we started the fight with? He's actually healing more. I'm not sure if that was the case, or if that's just like a visual thing where it just seemed to me like he was regenerating beyond his 50% health start or whatever. But yeah, it's the health regen is crazy. But I'm curious to hear from you guys. Also, have you been like, getting back into Breath of the Wild to kind of like prepare for Tears of the Kingdom? Are you guys hyped for Tears of the Kingdom? Hopefully you are, because that's pretty much what we're going to be putting here in the channel for a good while. I'll still have, stuff covering the goings-ons of the industry and all of that jazz, but there's going to be a lot of Zelda stuff coming because I'm super excited about it. That's just all there is to it. But anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for sticking with me. And I'm sorry that I didn't really do videos for the last 2 days or so, because quite simply, I've just been playing Breath of the Wild. That's what I've been doing. Anyways, if you enjoyed this, subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, all that jazz. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.